All right, we are back on MinneZona Sports Live. We have a special guest with us. Like we said, we're going to record this today, and then we're going to post it on Wednesday. But for MinneZona Sports Live, we welcome none other from the Breaking Into the League podcast, Sam Gabrielli. All claps out for Sam. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
He's bought a MinneZona shirt. I've gone to high school with this guy. We always have a good time. And not only that, he's a weather guy, by the way, in Duluth. So it's a great time. It's a great time for you. So Sam, welcome to the MinneZona Sports Live. It's about freaking time, right?
That's right, Matt, Paul. Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, like you said, weather and sports, that's like my, bread and butter. Like those are my two big things that I love. And yeah, it's going great with the podcast so far. I'm liking it.
Well, that's great. I mean, I've listened to most of the podcast, and obviously it's mostly hockey and things like that, and it's all the up and coming stars that'll come up here in the NHL. So it's a great time, and we have to make sure we get our hockey stuff in because Voldy himself, he's
exactly
hockey. So we want to make sure that we get it for Voldy here too, but. So Gabs, and by the way, I call Sam Gabs because that's what we called him back in high school. Gabs, that's how we're going to do it here because that's how we do it on MinneZona. But
I called you Cal.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That was the name. That's how we do it. So Gabs, why did you get started? Or tell the zoners about breaking into the league. Why you guys wanted to start it, and just tell it for the zoners that don't know what it's about.
Yeah. So my co-host Ryan Martin and I, we worked together previously, and he's located out in the Carolinas now. And it was like earlier this winter, probably in the February. Actually, it's more January, late December, and we were just like calling each other, BSing on the phone about whatever, talking about life and whatever. And I've always personally thought it'd be cool just to like be on a podcast, whether it be about like something weather related or sports or pop culture, like whatever. Like I thought it'd be kind of fun if me and a friend, whoever it would be, would just like start a podcast, like just to do one, you know what I mean? And just see where it goes. And he had the same idea too. And actually he wanted to do an NBA podcast with a friend of his, but things just didn't pan out. And so he just kind of said, hey, I like have in mind that, what our thought process was going into this and starting this podcast was, a lot of people don't know about these third, fourth liners that are very young in the NHL. And, obviously that are prospects. I mean, people know their names, but we try and like dive deeper into how they play, what's their playing style on the ice, where they're coming from, like more of a background on them. And, in the future, what we want to work on too, is like trying to find these prospects that are being drafted and have potential before they're drafted and figure out like what teams are best fit to draft them. That's ultimately my goal with this. We're still learning on the fly. And also for the listeners, what we're trying to gather out of this is like, we're trying to make it podcast listener friendly. So, podcasts, sometimes they get really lengthy. I listen to one that's like 2 or 3 hours long every week. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy listening to it. But Ryan and I, our logic is people have busy lives. They are on their way to work and school in the morning. In the afternoon, we're trying to limit it to like 30 minutes or less every episode. And honestly, as we're getting more and more used to things, we ramble a lot more now. So the last few podcasts, we've been closer to 30 minutes in time. But, our logic was we don't want to have a long rambling thing. We just want to go straight to the point. I pick a player every week. He picks a player every week, and we go from there. And ultimately, like, we want to inform everybody just about some of these guys. And some of these guys everybody knows about going into it, like Cole Caulfield, we talked about last podcast. This is, he's one of the top like talents in the league this year coming up. So sometimes we try and pick guys that not many have like heard about, you know what I mean? Like a defenseman for Montreal, who is like a third pair defenseman and is a healthy scratch, 5 nights out of the week. So that's basically the basis of our podcast. And then we also just like to ramble and have goofy personalities. So we like to insert that too.
Well, that sounds a lot like our show, actually.
Scarily a lot like our show.
That's it. I mean, it really is. And, the thing is, you want to keep the people's attention and everything like that. And, we try to do that. And with all these special segments like Tater Tot Hot Take and Absurder approved, and things like Voldy's Virtues, Callahan School of Logic. We try to keep it where like, oh, I'm not as interested in hockey, but I'm interested in the football aspect, so I want to listen to that. So we give the zoners a chance to listen to as much as they want to and what we're talking about and what's hot with the topics. So definitely understand where you're coming from with that. But I listened to your podcast, and you guys got great report. I think you guys do a great job, and your analysis is pretty spot on and whatnot. So I definitely it's a joy to listen. It's a joy to listen to a fellow cadet doing well with podcasting and being a weatherman. So there's that as well. But so let's get into some hockey here, because obviously we there are a couple guys we got to talk about, and I'm going to give Voldy's input on this too, but Dalla Bill Kirill has been insane for the Wild so far, and we knew he was going to be good, Gabs, and everything like that. But honestly, I mean, what are your thoughts on Dalla Bill Kirill's progression here so far this season?
Biggest thing that comes to my mind: why didn't this guy come over from Russia like 2 or 3 years ago?
Right, exactly.
Like every time I see him have a ESPN top 10 real goal. Well, ESPN doesn't really. I don't really like ESPN and how they view hockey. But anyway,
Nope.
You and Voldy have the same thought process on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We could rant about that, I'm sure. No, but like whenever he has those electric, highlight reel goals, I'm always thinking to myself, man, the things that Minnesotans would do to get him here earlier. The guy's still very young. What is he, 23?
Yeah, 23, I
so,
think.
Yeah. He is. I mean, he should get Rookie of the Year for sure. I mean, he's got a just heck of a shot. And I was listening to the Avs commentators once when they were playing the Wild earlier this year, and they made a good point. They were saying, the play-by-play team, that one thing he likes to do is he likes to like go around the net a lot of the time and kind of gather speed, kind of centripetal force going around. And it's just like, it's a work of art watching him skate. He basically accelerates when he's going around the net, because his skates and his feet are kind of in like a 180-degree angle. You know what I mean? It's like, it is insane. And then he has a heck of a shot. He sets guys up all the time. What does he have? Like 16 goals and quite a bit of assists right now already. And
yeah.
35 points, 16 goals, 19 assists in 42 games. Crazy.
Yeah. He's a work of art watching him play every night. What do you guys think?
Well, Voldy, let me bring it over to you and your thoughts so far. Obviously, we've talked about a lot on MinneZona, but
right.
Any more tidbits that you're thinking with?
I'm just looking at from when the Wild did draft him in 2015 with that 5th round selection as well. I mean, that was probably one of the biggest steals out of the draft that they had. 5th round, 135th overall. I mean, there's probably 134 other guys from that draft who are just like scratching their heads like, this guy went in the 5th round. And obviously at that time he was what? So that was 6 years ago. So he was, 17 at the time. And he was that good at that point as well. But over the years, he's steadily gotten better with the fact that you go from 2015, where he's playing 50 some games, but only getting like 25 points. Season after that, 42, 40 points, 51, then 62 points last year as well, with increased playing time, and also playing in the World Junior tournament, playing in the Olympics as well, where they got the gold medal, and then also playing in one of the best leagues in the KHL that isn't the NHL. I mean, there's a lot of great talent that's still out there, ex-NHL players, and some of the best players that come out of Europe play in that league too. But the fact that he is able to come over right now and make an impact. I mean, first, game of the season, he scores the OT winner out in LA, and 35 points in 42 games. And he's playing on the top line as, rookie that is a strong candidate for Rookie of the Year, even though there are some naysayers saying that he shouldn't win Rookie of the Year, as opposed to like guys who come over from like Cuba or the Dominican Republic in baseball that have played like 10 years and then they win Rookie of the Year. Everybody's all up in arms about that. Look, if it's your first year in the league, you should be Rookie of the Year. I mean, that's how it contends. I just like the fact that he's been able to kind of give the Wild a bit of a jolt, because last couple of years, the Wild have really rested their laurels on the guys with experience. Sure, we've seen like Jordan Greenway come up, when the Wild still had Charlie Coyle for a few years, and thought, oh, these young guys will be able to, pick up the pace for us. And It's just one of those where there's just been a lot of like, well, we'll get it next time, or this guy coming up here in a couple of years is really going to do things for us. But right away, Kaprizov has just said, look, we need to change something. Even with Bill Guerin at the helm too, said we needed this guy to come over right away this year and make a difference. And so far, it's been really good to see how much of an impact he's made right away for the Wild.
I mean, honestly, people kept talking him up when back, a couple of years ago and everything. I was like, well, when is he going to come up? When is he going to come up? But honestly, I think it's been worth the wait. And I've said this on the show, he's as advertised.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the big thing with Kaprizov is that he's the way that he plays, it's fast, it's quick. He's not only scoring, but he's got like a crap ton of assists. And
Mhm.
he's, him and Zuccarello have been on fire, absolutely just killing it on that line there. And I think he's added, like you said, Voldy, that jolt that they needed to, this season. And we didn't expect this season. I mean, that they'd be this good. And now all of a sudden we're seeing, hey, the future is looking bright here for the Wild, but not only the Wild, but Kaprizov as well. So hopefully in the off season they can get him signed and, hopefully he's a Wild player for life. That's all.
Well, we'll see.
Well, yeah, fingers crossed, right?
I believe in Billy Guerin, man. The stuff
He'll get
he's
the
doing.
job done.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They'll get him signed. And then one thing I like to see too, I love Parise. He's a Minnesota talent, Minnesota boy. And of course he's been like the core of the team for so long. Like when you think of the Minnesota Wild logo, you think of him or Koivu just over the years. But like I like that Bill Guerin now is not scared to healthy scratch him. You know what I mean? Like like it's about winning. It's time for us to be a relevant franchise in the NHL.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think whatever move he makes, he doesn't care what anyone thinks. He thinks, oh, this is the right move. And honestly, I think everyone's been agreeing with his moves. Obviously at the deadline, he's been quiet and I think he's got a plan. I think the off season it's going to be interesting. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that'll go well for the Wild. But, besides Kaprizov, there's a couple other guys too that I wanted to bring up to you, Gabs, as well. So, Kalen Addison, the baby face, I like to call him. I think just looking at it, he's a baby face. But what are your? Do you think that at some point, I think he'll be up, with the Wild, playing with the Wild and whatnot. Is he that good of a defenseman? What do you think?
I think so. We saw the true test out of him. What was it in February when the team had COVID? It was a couple of guys were out of the lineup. What was it, like 4 of our 6 defensemen were gone too?
Yeah. Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah, I remember I was tuning in. That was kind of a tough stretch for the team. But, Addison, like he's a smart player that he was paired with Suter. And I remember hearing that, Suter was just complimenting him left and right. And I remember hearing about Addison was pretty nervous going into the game. And Dean Evison just said, look, hey, just play your game. You don't need to be Jared Spurgeon out there. You don't need to be a guy that is out of the lineup. Just be you. There's a reason why we brought you up. Like you're one of our top guys. We trust you. And from what I saw out of Addison, even though it was a rough stretch for the Wild, he did chip in here and there. I don't know if he really registered any points for the team, but he was making himself known out there on the ice, and he played a fair amount from what I saw. I like what I see out of him.
Yeah, I think he can be a really good. The one thing that I feel like the Wild, need is another, good defenseman, and I feel like with not only with Suter and Spurgeon and Dumba, but also I think they have to look a little young because I know there's been talk with Dumba, possibly not, being traded in the offseason or something like that. But obviously you want to keep a guy like that around, especially with that slap shot. Oh my God, it's absolutely a dart. But I think Addison, he came over from the Penguins and, Billy Guerin just making moves and whatnot, I believe. And I think this will be key for him. And like you said, Gabs, I remember actually Evison talking about like, hey, just be you, man. Just don't be anybody else but yourself. So I think we're going to be seeing him up here again soon, and hopefully things will go well. So, Voldy, your thoughts on Kalen Addison?
Yeah, I think this is definitely one of the guys Garen wants to see develop a little bit more too, because the fact, I mean, he did play 3 games with the Wild here earlier this year, but obviously 2018, it was a second round draft pick by the Penguins. And, Garen was still there at that point. So he's one of the guys he's had his eye on for a few years, especially playing in the WAHL with the Lethbridge Hurricanes. And he's really done really nice in those few years at that level. But even with the Iowa Wild right now, I mean, they played 21 games. He's got 17 points, and he's racked up the penalty minutes a little bit. He's got 31 penalty minutes, so that's something to be desired right there. But obviously he's going to be one of those little project guys. It may take him another year or so, obviously, with everything surrounding, how much longer Suter's going to be around, and, what the situation is going to be with Dumba. Obviously, we know that Spurgeon's going to be hanging around for a little bit, even though he's got the C on his jersey. I think he's going to be one of those guys that may be a top 2 deep pair. He might be the 3rd, 4th guy, but definitely a guy that can contribute, maybe in some special teams area as well. But maybe the next year or so, I think it'll take him a couple more steps to develop a little bit to see where he can fully reach his potential too.
Right. So, hopefully, fingers crossed, he can get up to playing that top line or top 2 lines or whatever, and play well. So fingers crossed. All right, Gabs. Now let's move on to some guys outside of the Wild. You guys, I listened to your podcast, and you guys were kind of going back and forth on this, but Goal Caulfield, not Cole, but Goal Caulfield. You guys were really talking him up. He went to Wisconsin, right? He played for Wisconsin, and he was an absolute goal scorer. So what are your thoughts on good old Goal Caulfield?
Well, Cal, okay, so the past couple of years, ever since I went to Iowa State, I've been pretty bad actually at following the latest of college hockey, like sitting down, watching a lot of games. Now that I live in Duluth, I'm going to be back on that wagon here with the Bulldogs. I watched a fair amount of them in the Frozen Four, and I also watched Goal Caulfield in Wisconsin when they lost to Bemidji State. It was 6-3. There were a lot of Bemidji fans up here that were really, really liking that, because they were a huge underdog against Caulfield in that Wisconsin team. But from what I saw to Caulfield in that game, I'm going to be honest, that's the only bit I watched of him live this year, is that Bemidji game, and they were blown out of the water. I think it was like 4-0 after 2 periods. And I remember I was making a little bit of lunch or something and was watching the game in the 3rd period, because I knew it was a blowout. I wasn't like intently watching, but Caulfield was a total force in the 3rd period. Like I think he put up like double-digit shots and was just peppering the goaltender for Bemidji. But the guy is 5'7", and when he gets the puck, he is so electric. Like, he'll make everybody around him a much better player. And I mean, the guy's phenomenal. 5'7", he won the Hobie Baker Award, especially in today's NHL. I mean, to be that small and to be that like highly decorated as a young prospect breaking into the league. I mean, so we recorded last week about him, and that happened to be the day after he was announced he won Hobie Baker. So it was perfect timing. And I believe the night he was awarded Hobie Baker, he was playing in the AHL for the Montreal team, and he already put up his first night there, debut as a pro, put up 2 goals and assists. And I believe the Habs actually just called him up a couple of days ago, or maybe even yesterday. So he is going to be playing his first pro NHL game very soon.
That'll be interesting, because you guys were really talking about, I mean, Hobie Baker Award winner. But one other thing I got to bring up, because Voldy's not a huge fan of the UMD Bulldogs. I believe. Nope.
Why is that?
No, man, I'm a North Dakota guy through and through. I shouldn't say born and bred, but I'm a big North Dakota fan. So I just hate the Bulldogs. I can't like them. I mean, I did cheer for them when they won the national championship back in 2011, I think it was, whenever they won it down in St. Paul. But, other than that, I can't do it. I can't do it. I mean, I'm an hour and a half from Duluth, but I just can't. I can't like them. I just can't do it.
That's
man.
all right. It's what makes the rivalry fun, though. It makes
exactly. No, I mean, I mean, they just continue the stretch of the greatness that is for the NCHC, and that's the fault of the Big Ten for screwing up the WCHA conference altogether. But we won't get into that. That's a whole nother rant I'd like to get on. But talking about Caulfield too, I mean, the fact that he is the sizes that he's at in today's NHL, there's only a handful of guys that I can name off the top of my head that are around that area. Cam Atkinson and Nathan Gerby were the two guys in the NHL that contributed at those smaller sizes, and those guys have pretty good careers. Atkinson was tearing it up with Columbus, and then Gerby for Buffalo for a few years as well. But they were able to at least establish the fact that even the little guys can still go out there and contribute. But it like Gab was saying too about the fact that, I mean, he played 2 games at NHL and he's got 4 points, and even going to be called up by Montreal. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that too, especially for playing a franchise like Montreal. And the fact that at the size that he's at and being able to be a top guy for the stature that he's at, it also speaks to the fact that he can also put up, a few things on the other side too. Defensively still needs a little bit of work in some areas. Obviously he's putting up big numbers and points, but if you're going to be able to stay in the NHL for a long time, you got to be able to contribute on the other side of the puck too. So it'd be interesting to see how that translates going into playing for Montreal here very soon.
100%. And also I did hear too that, Gallagher's been out of the lineup for quite a bit, and, he's a big presence for the Habs, and it'd be interesting to see what kind of role Caulfield can play stepping into that little guy role for them. So.
All right. Well, there you go. All your analysis you need on goal Caulfield. So we're gonna use that if you don't mind. I mean, if unless breaking into the league wants to copyright it itself. But
I mean, Ryan's the one that came up with it. So hey, you might have to go through him first. But
yeah, I probably have to. But I like it. I think it's a great nickname. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But one more name I need to bring up to you, and then we'll move on to another thing that I got planned here. Alexis Lafreniere. That guy is like really good, and I believe he is with the Rangers, or he was drafted by the Rangers. Your thoughts on I think he's French, right? French guy. Alexis.
Yeah, total French guy. And that's exactly what the Rangers need, is like, they are kind of, in a sense, they've always kind of been like the Wild. You know what I mean? Like, they've had a lot of veterans in their lineup, not really too many of electric younger players. Like, they'll be sound defensively. Zibanejad's a great talent. And I mean, when Zooks was there, they've always just been like a presence in the oh gosh, so they weren't in the Atlantic pre-COVID. What were they in? They were in the Atlantic, weren't they?
Were they in the Metropolitan? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the guy is a huge talent. He's exactly what they need, especially with Panarin. It's great. I mean, he's only got 13 points in 43 games, but he's got to start somewhere, and he's only going to contribute to that lineup. And yeah, I mean, you got a couple of veterans there like Kreider and Zibanejad, Strome. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I have more to see out of him. I haven't really gotten to watch him play as much, but it's a great acquisition for the Rangers for sure.
Well, yeah, I'd say, because I was watching some highlights before we were starting recording, and I was like, wow, this guy's like, he's pretty good. But I'll take Kaprizov any day. That's all I got to say. I'll take Kaprizov any day. But Voldy, your thoughts on Alexis?
I mean, he was the first round selection last year. I mean, he was the number 1 guy. He's 19 years old. And, obviously right away, you'd expect to see him put up ungodly numbers. But, going from the QMJHL, I mean, that's a whole different ballgame. That's probably the closest you'll get to, a professional league that is in North America besides the NHL too. Coming from that league, he put up, 100+ points in the last 2 seasons when he was playing for his team out of the Q. But yeah, like we were saying, obviously there's more to be desired in that rank, but obviously you throw in the fact that age is a thing, getting used to, a whole different style of game too. The Rangers definitely are a team that definitely more to be desired, especially the fact that their goaltending situation is something that definitely needs to be cleared up, I think, either with this draft or maybe looking at free agency with this offseason too, to see where they can try and improve in certain areas. I mean, Zibanejad and also Kreider and Strom have been guys that have been really helpful in the last couple of years. But again, just like the Wild need that youth movement to come up. And I think Lafreniere is definitely a guy that's going to have to spearhead that acquisition and kind of push them in the right area, maybe a couple of years down the road once he fully gets used to the NHL style of play.
There's so many prospects. I just got to say that there's so many prospects, and there's all these top guys and everything like that. And Lafreniere, I think, he's gonna break out at some point, and we'll be the first to say that here on MinneZona Sports Live. So we'll keep in touch with that. But Gabs, before we start wrapping up here, what is planned for the next episode of Breaking Into the League? What do you got for us?
So I'm just going to give you guys a heads up. We're still a baby with this podcast. I think we only have like 40 follows on Twitter, and we'll throw out our handle here in a little bit on Instagram because we hope to get our social media platform rolling. But Ryan and I, what we do is we just pick a guy a week. I text him, hey, my guy is so-and-so. He says, hey, my guy, I'll research this guy. We plan to record actually either tonight or sometime this weekend or early this coming week. But my player is Alexander Romanov. He's a defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. Paul heard that. Paul, you like Romanov? You know what?
I do like Romanov a little bit. I'd like to see what he comes up with here in the next year or so.
Yeah. I was looking into him yesterday. I mean, the guy's only 20 years old. He's got a lot of potential. Looks like he throws the body around quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
I haven't watched much of the Habs this year, and I guess with Caulfield coming up, I guess I'd have more of a reason to watch their games. But Romanov, I think he already has a goal. He scored his first career goal this year with them. But yeah, like I said, he'll just throw the body around, it seems. And then Ryan's going to be researching Jamie Drysdale of the Anaheim Ducks. So that's how we roll with break into the league, man. That's how we roll.
Well, that's great. Well, first of all, that's great. And, I understand, it's still, you're still in the process of gaining those, but you being on the show, you're going to gain like 100 more. Okay. You're going to gain 100 more. Or something.
Just me? Why is that, man?
No, I'm just saying, not just you. I'm saying your podcast in general. That's
the whole kit and caboodle, baby.
The whole kit and caboodle. That's what we do here. We help out. We do that for our fellow podcasters as well. I mean, we got Werewolf Hell that we promote. We got Jack's Junkyard we promote. I mean, we got so many people that, and we're more than willing to help you out on that and get those followers up.
You want to find another cadet to promote, even though he's not playing. Maybe he's still playing hockey, but when we were on that UND subject, Cal.
Yeah.
Remember Kriegs?
Yeah, Petey.
Yeah. Petey Krieger, man. I kind of wish I was up here when he was playing for the Dogs, but hey, he's making STA proud right there.
He is. He definitely is. And I've talked to him a couple times, and who knows, maybe we get him on the show. It's possible. We'll have our people talk to his people and go from there. So, but anyway, it sounds like you guys got a really good lineup for this upcoming week, and we'll be tuning in, and it should be fun. But one other thing I did notice, I was listening before I came on here. I think you guys were doing a little Gruden, I believe.
Oh boy.
On your podcast. And, just to say, I got my own shtick with Coach Gruden. He's actually been on the show a couple times. So, I tell you what, man, Kirill Kaprizov, man, he's going to be the real deal. I tell you what. So
I like this guy.
yeah. I like this guy,
favorite.
Man.
I really like this
check this out, man. Come on, man. But I had to mention that because I had to check it. I was just listening to the podcast and I had to check that out for you, man. So
my favorite is how he always hypes up like the most routine throws as a quarterback, and he's like, "You just can't throw a better ball than that." And it's like, what? You're acting like this is like the Hail Mary pass or something or the Hail Mary pass that Eli Manning had back, in that New England Patriot Super Bowl. He acts like every pass is like that.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But Adu, I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, he overhypes it. That's what he does. He overhypes it, but we love him for it. We love him for it. So that's kind of the big thing. So,
Exactly.
but anyway, Gabs, we'd love to talk more. We'd love to talk more. We'll have you on again. But also, you know, I don't want to persuade you either way. We do have stickers if you're interested. There's $2 and $3. Let me know. We can work out a deal under the table or something like that. No, but I'm just saying, you know, I don't want to persuade you either way. But we do have bumper stickers,
merch.
little stickers.
We got merch.
We got merch.
All the merch. Maybe
merch.
we're next with the merch.
Exactly. So, but hey, Gabs, thanks for coming on. And make sure you guys check out Breaking Into the League. And where can you find the podcast, Gabs?
Yes. So we're on all platforms: Spotify, Apple, Pandora. Does they do podcasts? I mean, there's countless avenues to listen to our stuff. Yes, and another thing too, for all you listening, you want to know more about Ryan and I and our goofy friendship and just what we chat about, and then also about up and coming talents in the NHL. Our Twitter and Instagram handles are both break_into_NHL. Break_into_NHL. That's where you can find us. Podcast Breaking Into the League.
Check it out. It's good stuff. So all you hockey fans and everything like that, check it out. The zoners will check it out. I almost guarantee it. So not almost. Oh no, actually they will. They will. I'm sorry. But anyway, Gabs, thanks for coming on. And up next is Absurd or Approved.